All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. This was supposed to be another stellar off-season for baseball super agent Scott Boras, with several of his big name clients hitting free agency. But instead, Boras was left with egg on his face as some of his clients had to play the waiting game until the final days of spring training before they got deals. After winning the National League Cy Young Award last year as a member of the San Diego Padres, Blake Snell hit free agency looking to cash in with both money and a long-term deal. But instead, Snell wasn't signed towards the end of spring training when he agreed on a 2-year deal to pitch for the San Francisco Giants. Starting pitcher Jordan Montgomery entered this offseason fresh off of helping the Texas Rangers win the World Series, but the veteran lefty had to wait until the waning moments of spring training as well before he got a short-term deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks. JD Martinez's 1-year deal with the New York Mets. Cody Bellinger going back to the Chicago Cubs on a 3-year deal. Matt Chapman not signing with the Giants until earlier this month. And at the end of the day, one question for me is going to be, are MLB front offices getting tired of Boris? I'm going to say yes, because of his hardline negotiation tactics at times, but they still know at the end of the day that they've got to deal with him. Now, this is the thing. Teams in recent years, they're not giving out the long-term deals to the veteran guys like they did once upon a time. A lot of these teams now, they have focused more on drafting. They're giving the longer deals to the players at an earlier stage in the game, the 23, 24, 25 year olds, when they have them under their team control for longer, and they can, or let me rephrase that, they can keep them under team control for a longer period. They can sign them for a longer deal at a cheaper rate. It's one of those things where if you turn around and give a 22-year-old 7 years for $200 million, it might seem like a lot at the time, but by the time he's played out that deal, you know what? It might be on the cheap side, and we're seeing it so much now around baseball. The 20 or 30-year-old, 29 or 30-year-old guys who before were hitting free agency, getting those 8-year deals for 200, 10-year deals for 240 and stuff like that. It's not happening as frequent, okay, as we once saw. And of course, you have to be an upper echelon type guy to try to go out there and get a sweetheart of a deal like that. But at the end of the day, teams aren't giving those deals out, especially not for pitchers. And I'll say this about Boris's clients: some of them are box office attractions, and some of them have missed. You think about it in recent years, the big deal that Chris Bryant got from the Colorado Rockies. He's been a shell of himself since going there. Anthony Rendon's big deal from the Los Angeles Angels after helping the Washington Nationals win the World Series in 2019. Rendon has done nothing since going to the City of Angels. And then Carlos Rodon with the New York Yankees. It has been a disaster from the word go. So the fact that some of Boris's clients had to sweat it out this offseason and wait to the waning stages of free agency, well, how does that bode for next year with Scott Boras? And I say this because the likes of Pete Alonso with the New York Mets, Juan Soto now with the New York Yankees, and Corbin Burns of the Baltimore Orioles are all set to be on the free agent market next season. And of course, we know that when Boras's clients historically are going into the final year of their deals, he does not like them to negotiate. He wants them to play it out in order to increase their market value. I'll tell you like this, and I've said this before, and I will continue to say this about Pete Alonso. I do believe that the Mets will pay him the money. I think the biggest holdup is going to be the years that maybe he and Boris are seeking. I think at this point, what the Mets would do, they're going to sit back and let Pete Alonso go out there and test the open market and kind of like, if you will, set the market rate. See if somebody's willing to give him more years than the Mets would, and maybe possibly come back and match, if not go ahead of that. A guy like Juan Soto, I think Juan Soto is going to get his money, but it's going to be very interesting to see how much. Remember, Soto a couple of years ago turned down 440 with the Washington Nationals, which resulted in him getting traded to San Diego. And of course, you knew that San Diego was not going to sign him long term, especially with the money that they have committed currently to the likes of Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Xander Bogarts. And then the case of Corbin Burns, a guy who is going to be a veteran pitcher, but how much are you going to be willing to give him? That's also going to be the $1 million question. I'll say this about Blake Snell. When he's on, he's on, but teams are not going to break the bank to give money to a guy that can't even throw 200 innings per year. What are you going to get out of Jordan Montgomery? That's the other thing. So it's one of those kind of like you have to be a very cautionary, if you will, with trying to go out there and give pitchers big money. But at the end of the day, this is the name of the game. I think that Boris is still going to go out there and Boris is going to attempt to seek top dollar for his clients, which he has to, which he should. That is his job as an agent. But I do feel that the landscape of free agency in baseball is and is also continuing to change, especially with the additional luxury tax thresholds. And of course, Scott Boras has been a guy who's always been against that. He's also been a guy who's been against, big market teams, you know, kind of like, at the sale table, if you will, trying to go out there and enhance their rosters in free agency during the off season. But nonetheless, the game is changing. And at the end of the day, teams want to get guys on long term deals earlier at a perceived cheaper rate. But when it's all said and done, I think there could be another standoff next offseason looming for some of Boris's clients. And I think what we just witnessed is kind of like, a preview of things ahead. But again, like I've said before, I'm not going to put all of this on Boris because I do believe that Major League Baseball as a whole has dropped the ball, just like they dropped the ball on their opening day aspect. I really think they should go back to Monday, have more 1 o'clock games, you name it. I also do believe that Major League Baseball dropped the ball on their free agency aspect. You look at it from the National Football League, the National Hockey League, the NBA. When free agency starts, it is a big marquee event, and you're seeing the big name guys come off the board early, and it adds and generates more excitement. We're not seeing that in baseball. Some of these big name guys, with the exception of Shohei, literally had to wait here until the month of March to hear their names called as far as getting deals done. That falls on Major League Baseball when now they're not trying to pay veteran guys like we've seen it done in other sports and like we continue to see it done in other sports. But nonetheless, the landscape of free agency is changing, and let's see how Scott Boras and other super agents around the sport of baseball adjust to it. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.